Good morning, Gate City Rotary. It's nice to see you guys this morning.
That's a memory.
It's nice to be on that chatter. It's good chatter. Welcome guests. It's nice to have you all with us as well. Mike Conrad, do you have our invitation and pledge?
I do. Would you all please stand? And let's pray. Almighty God, we stand here today to pay tribute to brave men and women like John McCain, who gave their all in service to our country. Accept our thanksgiving for their sacrifice and that of their families, which have purchased for us a free land. Cause us never to take for granted their devotion to liberty. Let us also remember, with our friends beside us and no person beneath us, with the bonds of Rotary between us and our worries behind us, with our goals before us and no task beyond us, with a thirst for knowledge and a dream of a polio-free world, we are thankful for our Rotary friends and the meal we have just partaken. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Of all the things we think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Good morning, Rotarians. Today we have 40 members with us. We're going to have a very blessed Labor Day weekend. Guy Rabondo has a guest?
Yes. So Simon, this is his third week in a row here. We're going to have a chat with Lisa, and I'm not introducing him anymore.
Auburn Perkins is back again, and she is a prospective, not only prospective, but as she's put in her application. So we're going to be welcoming her soon as a new member.
Well, we got a little hiccup. I got an email yesterday from Rick Martin about not being here to do birthdays and anniversaries, so we're going to do a double next week, a double birthday and anniversary announcement. Yeah. Hey Chris, I got a question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you think we have time for a lightning round of Family Feud?
Well, we wouldn't if I had a question, but you got to give me a
That was quick.
You don't need for it?
You make them up.
I know I put you on the spot. I should have gotten it earlier.
Yeah, I'm fresh out of questions.
I doubt you're fresh out of questions. You just got a Family Feud question. Just make one. We'll pass on that, and we have a couple of announcements. Okay, so this is a real important one. Next week, our District Governor, Claudia Kennedy, will be here. She'll present to the club and share some of her vision for Rotary and the year ahead. And that's a very important meeting. One reminder, and I'll send this out by email, is when when the District Governor's introduced, a practice that we have as Rotarians is to stand up in recognition of her. So that's next week, Thursday the 6th. We have, and I sent an email last night about Get to Know Rotary. That'll be a program on September 12th, I think it is. It's the Wednesday evening before, it's obviously the Wednesday evening before a Thursday meeting for that week. And we won't have a Thursday morning meeting that week. That is September 12th. And we're going to present, or just have an event at Mark Luttrell's house. Check your email. I sent it out late last night. And that gives a little thumbnail sketch of the Get to Know Rotary program. Matthew asked me if I could present an announcement for him for street cleanup on September 14th. That'll be at 8:30, the usual place, and he's asking for volunteers, so it's not him alone out there doing the policing work. So that'll be on Saturday, September 14th. 15th. I'm sorry, 15th. Thank you. How about a round of happy dollars?
Happy dollar. Grandpappy Lewis is in Italy.
I heard that.
Is it? Chris, it's refreshing. I've never known an attorney that didn't have any questions.
All right, so hopefully you guys saw it on Facebook, but you know, the project we've been working on for gosh, I guess 5 years now. Lionheart Academy is a triad, the school we started for kids with autism. Had our ribbon cutting on Monday. Brian was actually out there catering, so that was awesome to see him in the halls. But we're in the brand new building. Year 4 started and opened with 52 students this year.
Steve.
This is more in the form of a question. If any of you are super familiar, I mean really good with either Venmo or Google Wallet, can you get in touch with me? I've got an idea spinning in my mind for something with Rotary and trying to incorporate them. So if you're really familiar with it, let me know. Thanks.
My daughter pays all her friends with Venmo. Hey, me. Gail.
Okay, request for 2 girls has been submitted. So, wow, so where to start? School has started, and we are 4 sports in. Each girl's back to soccer. Victoria played her first game of field hockey. She, out of 60, they did no cuts, 60 kids, she made the first roster. And I was like, and the game's in Chapel Hill. So I had a mom say, I hope you're happy to drive an hour for like watching her 2 minutes of play. Well, she played a half of each half. And I would not want to go up against that girl with a stick. She was great. And Rose is doing cross country. Rose is doing the IB program. So I was told I might need some sort of type of medication in the next few months. She is knee-deep in recruiting, hoping still to play collegiate soccer. And yeah, they're doing really well. So thank you to everybody who's asked. Appreciate it a lot.
So this is really happy dollar, but it's funny anyway. So yesterday, my almost 15-month-old grandson, Lincoln James Boone, got in his first fight at daycare. And, he has a bite mark on his arm, and apparently he did an overhead and bopped the kid. All right.
That biting thing is bad,
My husband and I are excited. Our son started his junior year in college in Michigan at Grand Valley State, and I know that he still needs his mother in North Carolina because he called and said, Mom, can you tell me how to sort the laundry? Well, he was going to get to the washer. He needed to sort.
I thought you just pushed it under the bed. We had a great turnout at a multi-club 505 last night. There were at least 5 potential Rotarians that showed up that were not affiliated in any way with any club, just came to see what it's all about. So this is starting to catch hold here. I said we had like 25, maybe a little more as far as total number of people. So it's becoming a recruiting event, and I think we had 5 clubs represented by the time it was all over last night too. And I mean 5:05 till maybe 7:15, something like that. So anyway, starting to catch hold.
Jennifer, thank you for being a great host for our club and stirring the pot on that, getting that energy out and reminding us about that. 505 is a great fun. Thank you. All right, Bobby?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give another $1 on that for Chip because at yesterday's gathering, I probably met three people that I've not met before from different clubs, and had a couple of really interesting things happen. So I had 2 people ask me, why Rotary? And you're standing there thinking, wow, like that's a loaded question. So I had the opportunity to share what a great force Rotary and its clubs and its individuals can be in one's life. And then, as hard as it is to sometimes get here, I had a great conversation with a young woman who's fairly new to Rotary, and she goes to a Monday club, and we exchanged numbers, and she said, oh, please come, on a Monday afternoon and join us for lunch, so that'll help. But for us to be at those events and have new people ask us why Rotary, I thought could make all the difference in the world for those people that are searching to find a place to make an impact. So just coming by for 30 minutes make a big difference.
Great plug for the 505. I want to give a happy dollar to my friend Tom Sears. I was in need of advice or coaching to get some a tool sharpened. And he said, well, let me see that. And lo and behold, he brought it back to me today, sharp as I can probably shave with it. And Tom, thank you for helping me out with that.
That's why it's got tape on the end of it.
I just appreciate it, Tom, and I knew it.
That's a good show.
With the right kind of tool or the right knowledge, I knew Tom would be the one. Thank you so much for that. Well, that's good. It's great. No, one more half dollar.
All right. Judge Hassel.
Well, hear a great program about one of the great things that this community has had over the years at PTI and what it does economically and otherwise. We had some great news yesterday, too, at the State of the Community Luncheon when Publix announced that they're going to land a distribution center here. $300 million investment for about 2,000 jobs coming in. So that's great news. We love Publix.
Good deal.
Grandpappy said, if you loan somebody $20 and you never see him again, it's probably worth it.
Good one, Bobby. Taking that with me today.
Good morning, everybody. As Tim mentioned, next week, District Governor Claudia is going to be here. And we're meeting downstairs, Hawkins Brown, the green room. Okay? So please make an effort to be here, say hello, and of course be respectful, more so than you are for Chip usually. And please stand when she's introduced. Did I cover? Is that it? Okay, good. Our speaker today is Alex Rosser. Alex is Deputy Executive Director for the Triad Airport Authority. He's been with them since 2012. Before that was with the Michael Baker Corporation, where he was a consultant for PTI during the time that they were doing FedEx, the third runway, the extra taxiway, all that stuff. So he's been consulting with the airport since 2004 altogether. He graduated from state in 2003, right before that. He's married to his wife Allison, 4 kids. So he's a busy guy. Please welcome Alex Rosser.
Thanks, Walton. Thanks for letting me come today and talk to everybody. I know I've got 31 minutes before everybody runs for the door, so I'll try to run through this to leave time for questions. I want to give you a little bit about the airport. Some of you might know this, but we have 2 really important things that we focus on. The third one you got to do. That's kind of a gimme. But the first one is passenger experience. So every day we try to task our employees with what you're doing today. Is it improving one of these 2 things? One, the passenger experience, whether that's cleaning the bathrooms or mowing the grass, or whether it's economic development. And Kevin and I spend a whole lot of time on the number 2, and really that's why we're here. That's what we love doing, and that's what gets us excited. We're both civil engineers, and so being able to do what we're doing right now is extremely exciting. A little bit about the board. We have a 7-member board, and that's made up from people from Guilford County, Forsyth County, and then Winston-Salem, High Point, and Greensboro. Steve Shofty is our chairman, has been for several years, and Kevin and I. A little bit about the airport. So we are financially independent. So we do receive grants from the FAA and DOT for construction projects such as a resurfacing of a runway or maybe some economic development stuff. But for our operating costs, we don't receive tax dollars. That's all from our revenue that we generate from either rent, parking, we get a percentage of the cup of coffee that you buy at Starbucks, etc. We do have over 4,000 acres of land. I mean, think about that. if anybody loves Google Earth, pull up Google Earth and just look at the amount of land that we have at the airport. We operate, it's just really exciting to see the potential that we have, and I'll show you some slides here in a few minutes. We do have 3 runways. Right now, one is being resurfaced, just like a road project. The asphalt has a useful life. It's been 19 years since the runway was resurfaced, so we're doing 4,700 feet of that 10,001-foot runway. Next year, we'll have to do another portion, so it is closed right now. So you will notice some traffic patterns that are different. Planes are flying over certain approaches more than they used to. It's because they're using what people refer to as the FedEx runway. It's not solely used for FedEx, but that's what some people refer to it. It's our 5 left, 2, 3 right. We do have a Cat 3 approach. The reason that's important is that means very low visibility, a plane can land. That was a requirement for the FedEx project. When you want that package at 10 a.m., you want that package at 10 a.m. If it's foggy, you don't care about it being foggy. You want your package at 10 a.m. So that's a requirement that FedEx had and has, is so that their planes can land and your package gets there on time. You hear about it all the time, 1,000 acres of developing land for economic development. I'll show you some of those. And the interstate publics, to your announcement, and they were referencing all the interstate and connectivity that we have. The DOT has done a fabulous job with the triad, and the amount of access that we have, it's very exciting, and it's very enticing to companies to come here. Here's an aerial of our airport. This is the runway that's being rehabbed right now. We're working down here. And then all of this land up here is what you hear about for economic development. Talking about the interstates, unfortunately, people in Greensboro or the Triad have 4 airports to choose from now. Greensboro, which we prefer, you fly out of PTI, but you also have Raleigh to the east, Charlotte, and now Concord. Allegiant flies into Concord and goes mainly to Florida. So we have over 50% leakage factor. So our employments are around 900,000 people flying out or coming in. But think about it, if 51% of our catchment area is driving somewhere else, so what would that do to our numbers if we could retain some of that? So the whole Fly Easy campaign that you've been hearing for a couple of years, we ask people to at least check PTI. We're not always the lowest, but there are a lot of times we are cheaper. There are a lot of times it's cheaper, and I don't know airlines and how they do their math, but it's cheaper sometimes to fly from Greensboro to Charlotte, Charlotte to Turks and Caicos, than it is to drive to Charlotte and fly from Charlotte to Turks and Caicos. Now you take a leg off of a flight, how is that cheaper? I don't know, but they run the numbers, so we just ask people to check, because sometimes people automatically think, oh, I'm going to drive to Charlotte because it's easier, and it's going to be cheaper. Well, it's not always going to be cheaper. A guy spoke at our board meeting on Tuesday, and he said, I love flying out of this airport, and I did it 5 days a week for 20 years. And he said, the reason I did it was I could drive, park, get through security, look back down the concourse, and still see my car. I mean, how many places can you do that? So we do have 56 nonstop flights daily to 14 destinations. And starting next week, Spirit. So what we need, I'm going to give you a little Spirit 101 right now and encourage you to check their website, because they are an ultra low cost carrier. So what that does is that gets your bottom from here to there. Everything else you have to pay for. So if you want coffee, you're paying for it. If you want Coke, you're paying for it. But as long as you understand that and you don't get on the plane thinking you're getting a free drink and then get mad because you don't get a free drink, you got to understand and set those expectations. So they're going to fly to 3 destinations starting next week. Orlando, Tampa, and Fort Lauderdale. What's big about this is if you're traveling with a family of 4 kids to Orlando to go to Disney World, you want to fly into Orlando where all the Disney stuff takes your bags and you never see it until you get to the hotel. You don't want to fly into Sanford and then have to commute over to Orlando. So having these destinations is great. So this is what's going to happen next week. September 6th is the first flight. And then starting in November, they're going to increase service for Fort Lauderdale excuse me, the daily, which is going to be great because right now the flight to Fort Lauderdale is later in the day. We'd love for it to come earlier so then you can go direct from there to the Caribbean. Right now the timing is not perfect where you're hitting it and you might have to stay a night in Fort Lauderdale if you're trying to do that to the Caribbean. But just please check Spirit. I mean, how many people knew that? 67 destinations. Around here, they announced us on a Wednesday, and they announced Asheville, or us on a Tuesday and Asheville on a Wednesday. So they are flying both Greensboro and Asheville. But Asheville, they're catching, the amount of people that go from Florida to Asheville and Asheville to Florida is huge. And so that's why Legion is so big in Asheville, and now Spirit is getting in there. Two things, they talk about bear fares. Like I said, it gets your body, from point A to point B, and everything else you're paying for. But that way it's a frill control, and it's a la carte. You're paying for what you want to pay for only. Who flies a lot? So when you fly, you like being crammed in a little Dash 8 with the props, or do you like getting in a bigger Airbus with comfortable seats, more space? You just feel better. I wonder if their fleet is one of the youngest in the industry. Most of them are Airbuses. They said their goal is to have everything in Wi-Fi in all of their planes, free Wi-Fi in all their planes by next summer. But we're very excited. They've been going like crazy. You announce it, and 90 days later you start service. So to put in ticket counters, to run all the cable for your computers and do everything, renovate offices, they've really been going like crazy. And next week's going to be a very exciting time. You'll hear some stuff on the news. There's going to be they do a little thing where their inaugural flight, people show up and put your name in a hat, and you pack your bag, and they pull out 2 tickets, and then they fly you to, I think the first one is Tampa. They fly you to Tampa and put you up in a hotel and pay for everything for the hotel and your transportation to and from. So they'll have people showing up with their bags hoping that they get picked next week. The key is, when we have a low-cost carrier, you got to use it. If you don't use it, they're going to leave. They're there to make money, and if they don't have enough butts and seats, so to speak, then they're going to put that aircraft in another market where they can make money. So it's very important. Everybody says get a low-cost carrier. Well, when you have an ultra-low-cost carrier, you got to make sure you can fly it. And if you don't fly it, they will leave. So just please get the word out. Have people check it out. This will change us to 58 destinations. There are 16 destinations, 58 nonstop flights. Heard about, this is a DHL plane, but you've heard FedEx in the news. FedEx next week on September 4th, Tuesday night, will start hub-type service. So there's been some press releases coming out about that. It's going to be 10 operations. Now, when they started this, it was going to be 63 by now. So we're not at the level that we were going to be. But still, this is huge for us because it'll double our cargo numbers by having these 10 operations. It's going to be 7 757s and 1 A300 and 2 little smaller ATRs. But all these planes are going to come in between 10:30 and 1 p.m. All get sorted, and then at 3:10 in the morning, 3:10, 3:15, 3:20, 3:25, they'll start taking off. So it's what everybody has been working toward for 20 years now, from when they had picked Greensboro, and we're very excited at what this is going to do. A little bit about the facility, improving the passenger experience. So we've got a 36-year-old facility. We've got to figure out how we can improve it and make it a little more modern. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that we've done and that we continue to do. So this is what the ticket counter looked like when it opened in 1982. Now this picture was only about 6 years ago. But this right here, that's a neon sign. Neon was really cool in 1982, and depending on who you ask, neon's really cool now, but we wanted to get the neon out of the terminal. So Kevin describes it as a newlywed couple who buys a house. They put together a list of projects. They don't have enough money to go fix everything right at once, so they put together a list, and every year they say, all right, this one we're going to replace the cabinets in the kitchen. all right, next year we're going to replace all the carpet. So what we've done is we've spent $10 million over the last 6 years changing things around the airport, not including a $5.5 million road project that we did to resurface all the parking lots. But just in the terminal, we spent about $10 million, a little over $10 million in the last 6 years. So we went from this to this in a series of projects. We replaced the ticket counters, put these arches in. There's 7 feet of space up here above these ceilings. Now these ceilings were still smoke stained from when you used to be able to walk around smoking in the terminal building. No matter how much we clean them, they still don't get clean. So Kevin had a great idea of less is more. Let's take that away and take advantage of this space. So they built scaffolding all the way down. High Caps was the contractor, Brewer scaffolding, to set up scaffolding over the whole end here so that we could still have people going through. And yeah, you felt like you were in New York City or something like that for a little while walking through these tunnels. But what it allowed them to do was, all that had fireproofing on it. Guys with 2-inch putty knives scraped off all the fireproofing off of all the steel, ran sprinkler lines, painted everything, and now we have what we have. And so it's one of those better one, better two, better one, better two kind of scenarios, and we're really happy with what we've got. Now we still have other areas around the terminal that we still need to work on, but this gives us a lot of flexibility and it modernizes the facility. These lights, these LED lights, there's a control panel and you can go in there and I can pick whatever color I want to. So July 4th, you'll see red, white, and blue. St. Patty's Day, you'll see green. On September 6th, when Spirit's flying, they'll be yellow. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. Right now, we're going through a master plan. We had a meeting with architects yesterday, PTIA, national architect firm, looking at what can we do for this facility and what's going to carry us the next 35 years. And whether it's tear down a concourse, whether it's add on, whether it's connecting downstream of security, what do we need to do to really take us to that next level? So more to come on that. Workforce. We are truly an economic engine for the Triad. Now this number right here, this is before the FedEx 400 employees. So to think about over 5,600 employees working on 4,000 acres of land is really exciting for us. HACO, people don't necessarily understand it. They think Hong Kong Aerospace Engineering Company. Why is a Hong Kong-based company working on KC-10s, military contract? So they have a military contract to service all the KC-10s. There are 59 of them in the U.S. fleet, and at some point, for the level of checks that they're doing, they're all going to be working through their facility. Very exciting. HondaJet, over 1,900 employees now. 1,900 employees. In 2007, they had 400 employees. Now, who in here in business can go from 400 to 1,900 in 11 years? I mean, it's incredible. And the salaries are outstanding for all of these jobs. Cessna is doing great. Their service center is one of the top in their fleet of service centers around the country. A lot of people don't know that, but Cessna is doing great. Textron Aviation is is the actual parent company, but some people still remember Cessna. Signature Flight Service is our FBO, and then we do have GTCC on campus where they're having 50 to 60 A&P certified mechanics every 6 months, which is great because then they can walk right across the airfield, not literally, and get a job at HACO or Honda or Cessna. So one thing that's very important is the average salary of these 5,000 plus employees, 5,600 soon to be, is $60,000 to $65,000. Who knows the household income for Guilford County? Average household income. It's like 44, 45, I think, depending on the year, depending on who you're talking to. That's 2 people. So to have average salary being $60,000 to $65,000 as opposed to $45,000 is incredible for the Triad. And we're extremely excited because these are well-paying jobs. One of the things that we struggle with is, in order to fly as a passenger, you've got to have disposable income. You've got to make more money to say it's worth flying our family to a destination. Otherwise, you're going to pick somewhere else that you can drive and save that money. So increasing the household income by having great jobs will allow more people to start flying, and that's one of the reasons why we love doing what we're doing. So FedEx, their sort facility is one of the top sort facilities they have in their fleet of service centers and their networks, and so we're very excited that they're moving to cargo operations starting next week. Honda, they have over 1,900 employees on 132 acres of land, and the amount of cars that you see in this parking lot, even Saturdays and Sundays, is incredible. So to see a Honda Jet now, it used to be, oh cool, look at that Honda Jet, and now when we look at our window, it's like, another Honda Jet. I mean, we're so used to seeing them now that it's just, it has become the norm, where before it was exciting every time you saw them. It's still exciting, but in a different way. HAECO, this big box right here, that's the one that you've heard in the news recently. That hangar, I've got a slide here in a minute that'll show it better. It's 102 feet tall. And it'll hold 2 777Xs tip to tip, or 8 737s. Oof. They say they can squeeze a 9th one in there if they nest them just right. But to have that many aircraft in such a large building, clear span, it really is incredible to see. So back in 2011, we put together a plan of what's going to take us to our next stage. Where do we need to go? Honda had located here. This is early on. That's their production facility right there. This is before the service center was built. So when you buy your Honda Jet made here at PTI, and you bring it back to get serviced at PTI, but that doesn't leave much land. So Kevin and Ted Johnson really worked on where are we going to go next. And Kevin and Ted actually drew this bridge right here on a napkin when they were in an airport coming back from meeting with somebody, trying to figure out how are we going to get access to this land. So we put together a list of projects, and you're not expected to read those up there. But we have moved, this was $320 million worth of construction. Through value engineering, we took out about $50 million of that, and then we're more than halfway through with some of these facilities. This taxiway is built here. This is the HAECO building, $60 million hangar that's constructed. This ASR tower, it's the one with the sail on it. It's up on what Kevin calls the Hershey Kiss, kind of by its lonesome. It's getting moved over here to Market Street, down here, and then we can cut this hill down because that's prime real estate for an aviation company to locate. Taxiway bridge, it's done. That was we estimated to be $38 million project. It was a design build project as part of the DOT 73 project, and through value engineering, they brought it down to under 18. Wow. And I'll show you how one of the main ways they did that here in just a minute. This is that HAECO facility right here. So this is a KC-10. Anybody know how long a KC-10 is? I always forget, so I just looked it up on Wikipedia. 181 feet, 7 inches. So put that in perspective. That's 181 feet compared to this facility. It is massive. This picture does not do it justice. When our office is right here, and one day I was looking out the window and I saw something small there's an eave coming out for the door pockets, and I was like, what is that? I pulled out the binoculars, and it was a person. But it's 20 feet, so a 5'8" person gets lost in a 20-foot section on the wall. But the building is it's incredible. It's top, state of the art. It's very impressive. We're very excited. This was actually a creek that went right through here. So we had to reroute a creek, permit and reroute a creek, and then place 500,000 yards of material that we actually took from over here, which is going to be a future aviation site, and moved it over here. So we're grading down over here, placing over here, kind of doing two things at once, trying to get things ready. This is what it could look like. We don't know yet. It depends on the user. It depends on, are we putting 5 Honda Jets or HAECOs over there? Is Cessna doing something big? Is Boeing taking half of it to do a manufacturing facility? But we are trying to prepare ourselves for what it could be. This was actually a drawing that was put in the Boeing proposal about 6 years ago now. They wanted a facility. They said, we're going to develop 777Xs, send out to 50-some airports 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, said, your proposal's due in 3 weeks. And so everybody jumped like crazy through hoops on how we can get it, and they ended up keeping it at Everett and in Washington. But we learned a lot through the whole process. So the 900 acres or 1,000 acres that you hear about is this property right here. This is the golf course, which is we own. It's operated by a company, and it's 132 acres, and we just cleared 140 acres over here. Taxiway bridge, there'll be a taxiway that comes out so that you get access to that almost 500 acres on the north side of 73. It leaves around a little less than 300 over here, and then a little over 60 on that side. This facility right here, the 725 North Regional, we just purchased that about a month ago. It's a 3-story office building. It has been vacant for a while, but because it's adjacent to our property, we thought it was a good investment to go ahead and get that facility. Taxiway bridge. So who's driven on I-73 under this bridge? So you don't realize what you're going under. And just like the HACO facility, this picture does not do it justice. This is almost 400 feet long and 214 feet from parapet wall to parapet wall. That's bigger than a football field. So who stood on a football field and looked around and like, golly, this is huge. How am I going to run from there to there? Well, go stand on this bridge, and it really puts it in perspective. So this was designed to hold the heaviest aircraft, the A380, if we needed to get an A380 on the other side of the airport. So it's not a tunnel. Tunnels, you have to do a whole lot of other stuff with airflow and everything like that. But when you're driving underneath it, it's so big and massive that sometimes it feels that way.
How do you get that plane down those dirt roads?
When you figure that one out, let me know. We are in the final design process right now for the taxiway to connect this bridge to the airport. So there'll be a taxiway that comes out, turns. We'll have a parallel taxiway on this side, and then a taxiway will stub off and go to the bridge. And then how it develops down here, it just depends. Is it one huge site, or are we breaking it up with multiple tenants?
Alex, don't you have another aircraft bridge that goes over the highway?
The road coming into the airport right here, that's taxiway Echo, and you go under a taxiway bridge right there. But it's a much shorter span. The reason, I didn't touch on this, the way that they save so much money is instead of taking a girder across this way, the length of the bridge where it's a longer span, they turned them, which is why you have this sawtooth, and they go perpendicular to the road, so it's a much shorter span. So a much shorter span means the girder size can go down like this, so therefore your costs go down. But it'll have a service road on each side so that we can get each side of the property, as opposed to having to go up and over a taxiway, you can go underneath it and not get on the airfield. This is the 140 acres that we were clearing down here, just getting ready for that next site. And we started that project back in March, and the contractor's almost done. They've got about 25 acres of seeding to do, and then they'll be done. And this is a view looking back. What is hard for people to imagine, but it's going to happen, is from Pleasant Ridge Road, which is basically right here, looking back at the airport, it slopes down. So that taxiway bridge was set, and the road was cut down 55 feet from the existing ground, because airplanes, they don't go up and down hills. They have set grades that they can go up. So that bridge is maxed out at a 1.5% incline from the maximum height that you can have, equal to the height of the runway on the taxiway. And then they had to carry down the road, they cut down the road, and then set that grade. But from Pleasant Ridge Road back down, it'll slope all the way down to the runway at about a 1.5% for the most part, depending on how we lay out some buildings. And then it'll slope back up to the terminal building. So you can actually see the terminal building from I-73. So after we cut out that site, you'll really be able to see it. Run out of time, let me run through some things. The runway project, this is 4,700 feet. That we're doing right now, hoping to open the third week in October. We have offered and the board approved an incentive to the contractor to try to speed that up. So we're doing everything we can to expedite that. And then we're bidding a project right now for this next section, 3,000 feet with 1,500 feet of as an alternate. We're negotiating with the contractor. And sorry, I ran through things at the end kind of quick, but I wanted to leave some time for questions. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes?
When will that resurfacing be completed for good so that we're back off of Cutaway 3?
Yeah, so we're having to phase it based on the way the prices came in. The market is extremely busy right now. Paving companies are slammed. And so prices are much higher than anticipated, almost double the engineer's estimate. So we're having to go through and negotiate with them and pull scope back. The goal is that we finish all of this next year. Now, the way the prices have come in, we're probably not going to be able to do this, so we're going to have to do a smaller portion